faithfully delivering value, interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally's Book Club. Today we're interpreting Lao She's novel, Divorce, for you. The issue of divorce has never been anything new. In recent years, China's divorce rate has been rising steadily. It's said over 10,000 couples divorce daily, with even more agonizing over whether to split. This troubles us just as it troubled Lao She's characters. In today's novel, Divorce, several couples in 1930s Beijing are tangled in messy separations. Petty clerks in government offices fret over workplace marriages, while mundane life silently erodes their resolve. Through their stories, Lao She portrays old Beijing's ordinary lives with humorous insight into marriage and existence. Problems that still haunt us today. Lao She, the renowned modern writer, saw works like Camel Shangzi and Tea House included in school textbooks. He wrote tirelessly throughout his life, producing over 7 million words, including more than 10 novels. Divorce, published in 1933, marked a turning point in Lao She's career. Earlier works like The Philosophy of Lao Zhang, Zhao Ziwei, and The Two Mas were essentially practice pieces. But Divorce was his first truly mature and satisfying work. Then came Camel Shangzi, launching his professional writing journey. Later adapted into films, TV series, and plays, the GU starring TV version proved most influential. The two main characters are Big Brother Zhang and Old Li, colleagues at the finance office. Big Brother Zhang is Beijing-born, while Old Li is an out-of-town worker working there. Several main characters only have surnames, no given names. Lao She deliberately used common surnames without names to represent China's ubiquitous ordinary people. First, Big Brother Zhang, an iconic Beijing character. He never left Beijing. His farthest trip was exiting Yongding Gate. He knew Suzhou and Hangzhou produced silk. Qingdao was in Shandong, and all Shandong natives ran Beijing pork shops. He'd never seen the ocean, nor did he wish to. He believes Beijing is the center of the world, and he's a warm-hearted Beijinger. Lao She introduces Big Brother Zhang as everyone's big brother. You'd think even his father called him Big Brother. That's how strong his big brother aura is. Big Brother Zhang's sacred mission in life is to be a matchmaker and oppose divorce. In his eyes, every girl must have a suitable husband. Every young man must have a fitting wife. As for Old Li, the protagonist, he was originally a farm boy who came to Beijing, graduated from university, and became a clerk at the finance office. In 1920s to 30s Beijing, he was considered an intellectual. With a typical intellectual mindset, he never settled for the mundane. To him, colleague Big Brother Zhang represents the mundane, only knowing how to pull strings, deal with daily chores like rice and mutton hot pot, full of compromises and perfunctory actions in life. Big Brother Zhang's life is just pointless hustle and bustle without any meaning. But he's not a bad guy, just a small bug in the dark that doesn't bite. And in Big Brother Zhang's view, Old Li is just a country bumpkin. Because Big Brother Zhang thinks everywhere except Beijing, even Tianjin, Hangzhou, Shanghai, Paris, London, all count as the countryside. Though Old Li is more educated and qualified than Big Brother Zhang, when they sit together, Zhang seems like a great man, while Li can't even measure up to a minor clerk. If Big Brother Zhang sat chatting with foreign envoys, he'd surely speak moving words, whereas Old Li gets flustered just seeing a waitress. You could say all the rustic simplicity is embodied in Old Li, while the dignified representation of Beijingers is Big Brother Zhang. Well, so one day, Big Brother Zhang invites Old Li home for a casual meal. Why? Old Li knows perfectly well. It's because Zhang heard Li wants to divorce his country wife, which Zhang absolutely disapproves of. Who else would handle it? The novel doesn't detail the origins of Old Li's marriage, but as a farm boy, his marriage was surely arranged by his family. That's how most people lived back then. But old Li happened to study in Beijing, graduate, and stay to work there. This education created a huge gap between him and his uneducated country wife. They had nothing to say to each other, so Li considered divorce. Thus, at the dinner table, he clashed ideologically with big brother Zhang. Old Li says, "What I'm pursuing is just a bit of melancholy. But family and society are too practical. There's no melancholy. Most women are ordinary or even more ordinary than men. I want to see a woman with melancholy, like a poem, like some music, like an angel." Big Brother Zhang says while eating mutton hot pot, "In my view, women are just women. You can't use an 8-man sedan chair to marry a girl. If you have melancholy problems and don't solve them, you'll fuss at midnight. Come on, buck up. Solve practical problems. Once things go your way, you won't fuss about illusions anymore, but chase mutton hot pot instead." Old Lee eats the mutton hot pot at Big Brother Jean's place. His mouth feels greasy from the mutton soup. Old Lee feels like a cart rolling downhill. Old Lee has never eaten such a comfortable meal. Only now does he admire Big Brother Zhang's life philosophy. Life has meaning only when you've got grease in your belly. A single meal of mutton hot pot defeated Old Lee. Is his melancholy just that trivial? Actually, Old Lee and his wife live separately, one in the city, one in the countryside. They see each other rarely and have no direct conflicts. So he couldn't bring himself to divorce her and was eventually persuaded by Big Brother Zheng. If Old Lee is an idealist with melancholy, unwilling to sink into mundane life, then Big Brother Zhang is his opposite, despising any unreliable melancholy. He wants to pull Old Lee into what he considers the normal track. Therefore, after this, Big Brother Zhang spares no effort in helping Old Lee rent a house and arrange the move. Faced with Big Brother Zhang's generosity, Old Lee couldn't refuse politely. So he took 5 days off, brought his wife and 2 children from the countryside, and moved everything: bedrolls, mats, 4 baskets, 7 cloth bags of various sizes, 2 umbrellas, a basket of mustard heads, half a jar, and millet, all to Beijing. Soon after his wife moved from the countryside to the city, she got along well with Old Lee's colleagues' wives and learned many tricks. For example, one wife's experiences: if a husband has $1, he should give 10 dimes to his wife. The husband must not come back after 10 at night. If he does, the door is locked. Then, a husband's pockets should be checked every night. If there's a new handkerchief, it must be interrogated immediately. In these times, waitresses, female students, hairdressers, and office girls can snatch away husbands anytime, anywhere. Old Lee's wife learned these tricks and, of course, applied them to Old Lee. Old Lee couldn't stand it. This conflict arose, but what can you do about conflicts in a family? So it ends unresolved? Old Lee wants to resist this life, yet seems to fail repeatedly. He went shopping for snacks for his kids, glanced at the oil salt shop and pork butcher shop, but felt too embarrassed to enter. But Old Lee reconsidered. Since he'd have to enter eventually, he decided not to today, thinking, once you enter, you become Big Brother Zhang. Secondly, Old Lee's feelings are complicated. He knows real life is unavoidable, but he'll dodge it while he can. He constantly resists becoming Big Brother Zhang by using him as a negative reference point. Succumbing to the second temptation, he skipped the shops and bought 20 xiaobing and a steamer of lamb cabbage buns from a street stall. But Old Lee paid with $1. The vendor politely gave change, coins and bills, wrapped in paper. Old Lee's heart felt warmer than freshly steamed buns. Old Lee felt family joy extends beyond the household. Family is happiness itself. Wireless radio stations broadcast all joyful music and news from Beiping to South America. No wonder Big Brother Zhang is so cheerful. See, Old Lee doesn't want to become Big Brother Zhang. Secondly, but he increasingly appreciates Zhang's cheerfulness, trying to convince himself that conforming to mundane life has meaning. Yet he fears becoming Big Brother Jean. Secondly, when wronged, he dares not speak up. Like a caged bird, accustomed to captivity, facing danger, it closes its eyes, awaiting death, too afraid to even cry out. Its daily songs exist only to please others. Old Li knows Beiping has bound him, so he should find ways to spread his wings and fly a while. He once pinned hopes on neighbor Mrs. Ma, a woman abandoned by her husband. Old Lee idealized Mrs. Ma, making her the symbol of poetic beauty in his heart. He dreamed of escaping with her, fleeing this rotten family, that monstrous government office, all the way to vibrant Southeast Asia, sleeping in equatorial jungles, having colorful tropical dreams. Such impractical fantasies naturally shattered. First, because Mrs. Ma never took him seriously. Second, because her husband later returned. Though titled divorce, Old Lee never divorced. Life just went on. Going to the finance office each day, Old Lee saw its black gate like a cold maw, waiting each morning to devour petty bureaucrats. Government office work is a career that isn't really a career, a perfunctory duty you can't help but perform perfunctorily. Old Lee feels he's walking down a dead-end road. The roadside flowers are like tattered banknotes and greasy coins, yet he must walk on. He can't stand still. Melancholy, romance, freedom, they're just pretty words. Life is buying stoves, renting houses, and such. His finance office colleagues each have their quirks. Mr. Wu, ex-military, loves flaunting his integrity. He's obsessed with Tai Chi and talks about it endlessly. Nobody can interrupt. But now one thing diverts his Tai Chi obsession, taking a concubine. He has solid reasons for wanting one. In his words, over 40, no son, gotta change course and take a concubine. But how would his plump wife agree? The result? They threatened divorce, quarreling fiercely. But the plump wife knew divorcing Mr. Wu meant losing her livelihood. So despite the fuss, they never split. Mr. Sun came to Beiping solely to practice Mandarin. He can't handle official work and isn't quick-witted, yet remains a clerk. Because learning Mandarin is personal, while clerking serves the nation. Personal matters naturally trump state affairs. He thinks adding or to any word makes it Mandarin, so he talks like that. Mr. Wu and little Zhao, oh, they fight fiercely, endlessly, oh my, vicious. Mr. Q's decent but often gloomy, so he joins others' fun to ease it. He respects his wife immensely. When she speaks, he scans everyone's reactions immediately. If she cracks a joke, he surveys the room to see if people laugh. Then he flashes her a quick smile, stifled and awkward. Though just a clerk, little Zhao's backer is the director's wife. Her power exceeds the director's. She controls him tightly. So you can imagine Zhao's status. This well-connected figure cheats, swindles, does every bad deed. Everyone at the finance office fears him. Old Lee has sharp critiques for these colleagues. Who is the director? A bureaucrat plus bandit. Little Zhao, swindler and clerk. Big Brother Zhang, matchmaker. Mr. Wu, good for nothing and martial artist. Mr. Sun, robe and Beiping slang collector. Mr. Q, symbol of gloom and clerk. This bunch of people actually formed an institution with disillusioned idealist Old Lee. Facing such civil society and bureaucratic ecosystem, he naturally felt deeply conflicted and often found it unbearable. Old Lee questioned, these people are society's pillars? They're supposed to raise children and develop the nation? What a joke. There must be some fundamental flaw, otherwise these people shouldn't exist at all. While Old Lee suffered, something major happened in Big Brother Jean's family. This incident became the last straw that broke the camel's back, pushing Old Lee to his final decision. So what exactly happened? Turns out, Big Brother Zhang's beloved son, Zhang Tianjin, was arrested as a communist. Instantly, Jean's usual dignity and composure vanished. He completely broke down. But Old Lee stepped forward, seeking the powerful little Zhao at the finance office to rescue Tianjin. Little Zhao That shameless scoundrel demanded Zhang's sister Shizhen in exchange for Tianzin's freedom. After much persuasion, old Li changed the deal to Zhang's property. Zhao got the deed, but used the rescue as pretext to approach Shizhen. He lured the girl, young, naive Shizhan, fell for Zhao's smooth talk and took the bait. In this crisis, Zhang was distraught and helpless, just sitting gloomily at home. Old Li had no solution either, until the family servant Ding stepped up. Usually useless, he only did chores, yet this inconspicuous man possessed a chivalrous heart. Seeing the Zhang family near ruin, he felt he must intervene. He secretly urged Zhang to pressure Zhao for Tianjin's release while setting a trap. Once freed, Second Master Ding lured Zhao to a remote spot at Shihahai and sent him to his demise, saving Shizhan. Though the danger passed, this turmoil deeply shocked Old Li. Old Li finally saw through Big Brother Zhang. This serious perfunctoriness had utterly failed. After his son's incident, acquaintances avoided Zhang. Not one colleague signed Old Li's petition to guarantee Tianjin. Shameless people. Though Zhao had coerced Zhang to sell his daughter, once his son was freed, Zhang reverted to form, setting deadlines, pulling strings to secure a clerk appointment within a month, restarting his matchmaking. His perfunctory life continued. Old Li has come to his senses, since no matter what serious compromise and perfunctory action they're bound to fail, the only word left in his heart is escape. He says, escape, even let the little birds free, let them fly, 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 over the green sea, to forests with parrots of all colors, leading to streams with fish of all hues. Old Li resigned and took his whole family back to the countryside. This news caused a huge stir at the finance office. Everyone thought Old Li had gone mad. Big Brother Zhang also genuinely felt sorry for Old Li, thinking it was such a pity. He had reached the rank of first-class clerk. Why resign? Big Brother Zhang wouldn't believe it, saying Old Li would soon run back to Beiping. Just watch, he'll come back. As Big Brother Zhang predicted, could Old Li really solve his idealistic problems in the countryside? Know this, the countryside isn't an idyllic pastoral. It's not a refuge for city folk, so ultimately it couldn't resolve Old Li's melancholy. This ending contains Lao She's deep irony. Old Li's future path might be one of helplessness, sliding towards compromise and perfunctoriness. He struggles not to become Big Brother Zhang, but the logic of life might truly make Old Li and Big Brother Zhang end up the same way. Just as Mr. Q at the finance office once said, life entering a circle is as meaningless as wild birds entering a cage. In my youth, I was a wild donkey. In middle age, I married and worked, turning into a slick-skinned donkey. In the future, I'll end up boiled in a big pot outside Deshin Gate, selling donkey meat. I won't jump out of the circle. Nobody can. Mm, 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 mm. In the book, Lao She displays his most well-known art of humor and satire. Compared to Lao She's earlier works like The Philosophy of Lao Shang and The Two Mas, the humor in Divorce seems more fitting. Lao She's humor was influenced by British novels and essays, such as the novel's opening, "Every girl must have a suitable husband. Every young man must have a fitting wife," clearly echoing the opening line of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Again, as introduced, marriage is creation. Eliminating divorce is art criticism, showing the wit of British essays. Lao She deeply understood urban society with extraordinary insight. His satire, penetrating deeply. He wrote about Big Brother Zhang as a matchmaker, saying he was like a microscope and a scale. Under the microscope, he'd find a girl with a few pockmarks. Immediately, he'd find a man in the crowd who stutters a bit or is a bit nearsighted. On the scales, the pockmarks and nearsightedness just cancel each other out. In a superior marriage, the nearsightedness easily overlooks the pockmarks, and Miss Pockmark naturally won't urge her husband to get glasses. They proceed immediately to exchange photos. Success is the only option, no failure allowed. Big Brother Zhang is also good at creative inventions when it comes to wedding arrangements. In the new era, Beijing uses cars for weddings, but Big Brother Zhang believes it's a pity for a young woman to never have ridden in a bridal sedan chair in her lifetime. Besides, getting out of a car at the door with all sorts of unclean onlookers waiting to see is improper for the bride, not to mention whether it's auspicious or not. What is Big Brother Zhang's invention? It's to place a bridal sedan chair inside a car. When the car arrives at the door, four people carry out the sedan chair from the car and lift it into the house. The onlookers can only stare helplessly. No one can see the bride's face. However, once an incident occurred. That summer, the bride was tipped out of the sedan chair because she had fainted from the heat. So, Big Brother Zhang came up with a new invention, placing two fans in the car ready to cool down at any time. The reason Lao She masters humor perfectly is not only in his control of language, but also in the coordination between the art of humor and the deepening of themes. Through divorce, Lao She aims to satirize life as mere compromise and perfunctory actions, a complete opposite of ideals, just muddling through. Lao She develops this theme on two levels. First, satirizing a society of human relations based on compromise and perfunctoriness. The core character in this is Big Brother Zhang. His whole life is a serious perfunctoriness. Pulling strings and hosting banquets are the center of his life. For his son's schooling from childhood to adulthood, he has pulled countless strings and hosted innumerable banquets. In Big Brother Zhang's view, his son failing the middle school entrance exam 5 times is because he didn't pull enough strings. He never thinks it's because his precious son has poor grades. Also, in a match made by Big Brother Zhang, the man got a job as a doctor through connections, opened a clinic, prescribed half a pound of plaster to a patient, and the patient died after taking it. The police arrested the crack doctor, and his new bride came crying to Big Brother Zhang for help. Big Brother Zhang agreed immediately, saying, if we can pull strings to make him a doctor, we can pull strings to get him released. Regardless of right or wrong, only human relations matter. Even if black and white are reversed, it doesn't matter. When old Li was bullied by little Zhao at the office, supposedly the enthusiastic Big Brother Zhang should have spoken up. He believes that the center of the world is Beijing, and he is a warm-hearted Beijinger. Lao She introduces at the beginning that Big Brother Zhang is everyone's big brother. You'd think even his father calls him Big Brother. How strong his Big Brother aura is. Big Brother Zhang's sacred mission in life is to be a matchmaker and oppose divorce. In his eyes, every girl must have a suitable husband. Every young man must have a fitting wife. As for old Li, the protagonist of the novel, he was originally a farm boy who came to Beijing, graduated from university, and became a clerk at the finance office. In 1920s to 30s Beijing, he was considered an intellectual. With a typical intellectual mindset, he never settled for the mundane. To him, colleague, Big Brother Zhang represents the mundane, only knowing how to pull strings, deal with daily chores like rice, cooking oil, and mutton hot pot, full of compromises and perfunctory actions in life. Big Brother Zhang's life is just pointless hustle and bustle, without any meaning. But he's not a bad guy, just a small bug in the dark that doesn't bite. And in Big Brother Zhang's view, old Li is just a country bumpkin, because Big Brother Zhang thinks everywhere except Beijing, even Tianjin, Ankou, Shanghai, Paris, London, all count as the countryside. Though old Li is more educated and qualified than big brother Zhang, when they sit together, Zhang seems like a great man, while Li can't even measure up to a minor clerk. If big brother Zhang sat chatting with foreign envoys, he'd surely speak moving words, whereas old Li gets flustered just seeing a waitress. You could say all the rustic simplicity is embodied in old Li, while the dignified representation of Beijingers is big brother Zhang. So one day, big brother Zhang invites old Li home for a casual meal. Why? Old Li knows perfectly well. It's because John heard Li wants to divorce his country wife, which John absolutely disapproves of. And who else would handle it? The novel doesn't detail the origins of old Li's marriage, but as a farm boy, his marriage was surely arranged by his family. That's how most people lived back then. The novel's protagonist is called Lin, sharing a clever parallel with old Li from Divorce. Both have surnames but no given names. From this continuity, we see divorce stories and social contexts may change, but the confusion old Li faced remains common for people today. We still fret over household chores, worry about work, and toss and turn over trivial matters, unable to achieve our ideals. When we chuckle or sigh at the character's joys and sorrows through Lao She's writing, we should reflect on our own lives to grasp the deeper meaning of his humor and satire. All right, that concludes our interpretation of Divorce. Listening notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.